What if I told you that you are not walking toward the future? What if everything you think you know about time is just an illusion? Because maybe we are not moving within time. Maybe time is moving within us, and worse, maybe the future is not ahead of us, but above us, pulling us in without us even realizing it. Today, we'll explore an idea that could shatter your perception of reality. What if time isn't moving forward, but pulling us in, from modern physics theories to forgotten concepts of circular time? Get ready to see the universe and your own existence in a completely different way. We often think of time as a line, a straight line extending from the past to the future, always moving forward. However, modern physics is dismantling this linear perception of time. With Einstein's theory of general relativity, it was revealed that time can bend and curve along with space, and that even things like mass can slow down time. This suggests that time is not a surface, but an active field. If time is a gravitational field, we are not moving within it. We are being pulled by it. Just as gravity pulls us toward Earth, time may be pulling us toward the future. In this case, moving forward is not an action, but an inevitable drift. The future is not a destination, but a center, and we are caught in its pull. This perspective also challenges concepts such as free will and destiny. Perhaps we are not making choices, but merely drifting in certain directions within this time field. Wherever time pulls us, we move in that direction. This completely overturns the belief that we control the direction of our lives. Understanding time as a gravitational field implies that even our physical existence is shaped by this field. Perhaps even our bodies are designed according to this flow. Our memories remain in the past because gravity pushes us forward. Even our thoughts may be shaped by the slope of this time field. When we think of time as a gravitational field, the idea of the future being a fixed point makes more sense. The future is not a possibility, but a certainty. We are consciousnesses tilted toward this fixed point. Like stones rolling down a mountain, we are accelerating toward that fixed point. If the future is truly fixed, this shows that what we are experiencing right now is merely a process of becoming. We are not creating time as we think we are. We are merely beings shaped by it. The future may behave like the ultimate core of our existence. The direction of time is also determined by this fixed point. This idea takes the concept of fate to a whole new level. Perhaps fate is not a written script, but the magnetic pull of a fixed target. Our entire lives are shaped by the influence of this target. In that case, our lives may be shaped not only by the past, but also by the shadow of the future. According to this theory, our memories do not take us back to the past. They only show us how far we are from the future. Although our memory seems to work backward, it actually measures our distance from the future. If the future is a fixed point, then we are always falling toward it without even realizing it. The idea that time moves forward is based on an assumption that we cannot directly observe. In reality, there's no such thing as the flow of time. What exists is only our own change. Our cells change, our thoughts change, events change, and we interpret this change as progress. If time were static, the entire universe could be frozen in a single now. What we call the past is merely a record of changes we remember. The future is simply changes we have not yet observed. We are constantly changing, and we perceive this as time passing. This perspective teaches us to internalize time rather than externalize it. Time is not a flow outside of us. It is a transformation within us. The more we change, the more time feels like it has passed. That's why some moments fly by like hours while others stretch out like years. This brings a whole new perspective to the idea of freedom. If we create time, then we also determine the future. But we do this not by moving forward, but by changing. Every awareness, every new thought does not move time forward. It makes it deeper. Could what appears to us as the present moment actually be an echo of a future that has already occurred? Perhaps now is filled with vibrations coming not from the past, but from the future. Though this idea may seem fun at first, it aligns with the dual nature of time discussed by quantum physicists. In some experiments, the future state of a particle can influence its past behavior. This provides clues that time may not only move forward, but also backward. If this quantum effect holds true at the macro level, the moment we are experiencing may be shaped by echoes from the future. This could explain certain things that come to us, or our intuitive feelings about the future that seem to arise without cause. Perhaps time is not a straight arrow, but operates like intertwined rings. In each ring, there are forward and backward ripples, and we call these ripples moments. If the present is an echo, then the future is the original source of the sound. We are merely hearing the sound as it bounces off walls and returns to us. In this case, real time is not now, but later, and we exist only in its echo. As Einstein demonstrated, time slows down as we approach the speed of light. At the speed of light, time stops altogether. This shows that time is not absolute, but relative to speed and mass. In this case, are we free within this variable time, or are we subject to its rules? If time itself bends, how much control do we have? Our bodies, thoughts, and entire lifespans flow through this curved timeline. Perhaps we don't make as many choices as we think, because all choices are already shaped within this curved timeline. The flexibility of time also draws a new framework for the concept of destiny. Perhaps we are not creating the future, but merely following the most suitable path within this curved time. The curvature of time may be determining our direction. In this case, freedom is not external, but an internal potential. Even where time is bent, our thoughts can change direction in small leaps. But to a large extent, we must accept that we are beings pulled toward the future and that we live within that pull. We spend our lives believing that we are constantly making choices. But perhaps all these choices are nothing more than an illusion. What if the future is not a place to be reached through choice, but an inevitability that draws us to itself independently of us? In this case, our decisions may be nothing more than steps along that inevitable path. If the future is fixed, every event, every encounter, and every thought exists to bring us closer to that point. In this case, will is not a route, but merely a guide used during the journey. Everything we think we choose may actually be an adaptation to a point we have already been drawn to. The most striking aspect of this inevitability is that it begins to influence us from birth. Our thoughts, preferences, and even our emotional responses may be reflections shaped by an invisible force that carries us into the future. It is as if a magnet has already begun to pull us toward itself, and we still think we are walking. This idea can be frightening, but it can also be comforting because if the future is inevitable, the pressure to do everything perfectly disappears. Life becomes less about struggling and more about becoming aware of the pull and flowing with it. We are accustomed to thinking of time as something external, something we move within. But perhaps the truth is the opposite. Time comes before us and creates us. We may be temporary forms emerging from its structure. Time is not consciousness. Consciousness follows time. In this case, our entire personality, Even what we call I is defined by the form it takes within time. Just as a wave in a river depends on the shape of the water, we are shaped by how we pass through time. We could have been different people in a different time. When we realize that time shapes us, we understand that we have less control over life than we thought. We are not choosers, we are merely shaped. This awareness allows us to understand ourselves within a larger structure. When we accept that we are not the architects of time, but rather its results, resisting the flow of life becomes more meaningful. Perhaps true freedom is not about controlling time, but about observing and accepting how it shapes us. If time is not linear but spiral, the same events can repeat themselves in different forms. In this case, life progresses in a cyclical manner. While we think we are moving forward, we are actually bending back toward the same center again and again. This may explain the feeling of the strangeness of time. Being in a spiral also describes the transformation of the past into the future. Sometimes we encounter the same person again under different circumstances and feel the same emotions. This is not a coincidence, but a result of the nature of time. Each turn brings us a little closer to the same center. This perspective also answers the question, why do we keep repeating certain lessons? Perhaps the spiral keeps turning us until we learn. Time is not only progressive, but also transformative. Transformation is not just repetition, it also means deepening. The spiral model of time also includes individual development. We experience the same things in each cycle, but we are a little more aware, a little stronger. This shows that time does not just take us somewhere, it also builds us while building something inside us. Although this expression may seem like a play on words, it contains a profound philosophical difference. When we say time is passing, we think of time as something independent of us, something that flows. But what is actually happening is that we are moving within time. We are passing. Time may be standing still. If we think of time as a space, we are beings moving within that space. Every moment, we are in a different part of time. That's why sometimes time passes quickly, sometimes slowly. In fact, this difference is not in time itself, but in how we move within that space. This understanding makes us more conscious. Instead of racing against time, we question how we travel within it. Time may not control us. We determine our lives by how we navigate within it. We should pay attention to the architecture of time rather than its pressure. When we think about it this way, it's like we're touching different parts of a fixed space every day, just like someone walking in a forest. The forest is fixed. We're moving forward. Then losing time or gaining time is only about where we're walking, not about time itself. During moments of déjà vu, we experience the feeling of, I've been here before, but we can't quite remember where or when. What if the cause of this feeling isn't the past, but the future? Could we be sensing these moments not from the past, but from a time that hasn't yet happened? Our brain processes not only memories, but also possibilities. According to quantum consciousness theories, our mind can sometimes experience multiple possibilities at the same time. This could lead to the feeling of déjà vu. Perhaps this feeling is a brief preview of a future moment. The idea that déjà vu could be connected to the future supports the notion that time is not linear. When we think of time as a structure, a system, information about the future might leak through certain cracks. Our minds sometimes perceive these leaks without us being aware of them. This suggests an invisible connection between consciousness and time. Déjà vu may not just be a neurological glitch. It could be a small vibration indicating that the future is pulling us toward itself. Perhaps the first echoes of the future are already resonating within us. even if we don't notice them. We are accustomed to thinking of time as merely a physical process. But what if the future we refer to has a conscious, guiding, and influential structure? In other words, what if we are not moving toward the future, but rather it is slowly molding us into the form it desires? In this case, the future is not merely the end of time, but a will. The idea of a conscious future may seem fantastical at first. However, just as a flower turns toward the sun, we can observe that human behavior is also directed toward the future. Goals, dreams, fears, all of these could be the shaping influence of the future. Perhaps the future is bending and shaping the present to reach us. This perspective affects not only individual destiny, but also collective human history. Even though we seem to have no idea where humanity is headed, we are actually moving in a certain direction. What triggers that direction may be the pull of the future rather than the push of the past. If the future is truly conscious, then we are its instruments, perhaps even its messengers. Every person can be a small part of the process of building this conscious future. If we are part of a system larger than we imagine, then the future is not just a point in time, but a reflection of a universal mind. Although time appears to flow forward, we notice that many events repeat themselves and that similar feelings and situations appear cyclically in our lives. This cyclical nature suggests that time is not linear, but spiral. In other words, time is not only moving forward, but also turning. The idea of spiral time is meaningful for both individual and collective history. Humanity repeatedly experiences similar wars, crises, victories, and discoveries. However, these repetitions do not occur at the same point. With each turn, we pass slightly higher or lower. Thus, everything that repeats is actually a new variation. This model also explains personal development. Someone who says, "I always encounter the same problem," may actually be progressing within spiral time. Encountering the same theme again does not mean they are in the same place. It means they are experiencing that theme on a different level. Each turn is a possibility for awareness. The spiral concept of time also supports the idea that time has no beginning or end. Perhaps nothing ever ends. It just revolves around the same center at different levels. The future may be the innermost circle of spiral time. What draws us there is the intensity of the center. Saying that time flows leads us to imagine it as a flowing river. Yet in reality, time may be static. We are beings passing through its layers. Just as we turn the pages of a book, we move through the sections of time. In this case, it is not time that moves, but us. From this perspective, time can be understood as a space. We walk within it, sometimes speeding up, sometimes slowing down. This is why the relativity of time makes sense. Time that passes quickly is our speed within it. Time that slows down is the slowing of our movement. This awareness reduces the pressure we feel about time, because we realize that it is not passing us by, but that we are moving within it, consciously or unconsciously. Instead of saying, "There wasn't enough time," it would be more accurate to say, "I didn't move forward consciously enough within it." Realizing that we are passing through time shows that every moment is a place. It is possible to stop within that moment, to live it, and to change our direction. In other words, destiny is not just being in the flow, but being aware of the flow. Time deepens when it is lived consciously. Sometimes things we have never experienced feel familiar. We feel a sense of peace in places we have never been, and a sense of closeness to people we have never met. Could this sense of familiarity be information leaking in from the future rather than the past? Perhaps some moments leave an impression on us before they are even experienced. This feeling can be explained by the non-linear nature of time. If time is interconnected like rings or a web, certain future events may influence our present selves. The sense of familiarity could be the first point of contact in that connection. The shadow of the future falls upon the present. Furthermore, consciousness may not be limited to remembering the past. Vibrations or tendencies toward the future may be perceived in our subconscious. These signals, which we cannot comprehend, sometimes manifest as déjà vu, sometimes as premonitions, and sometimes as a sense of familiarity. This feeling may be a sign that life is pulling us somewhere. Every familiar person or moment is a mental projection of an event we will experience in the future. Perhaps it is the quietest but most effective form of calls from the future familiarity. Are dreams merely the product of the subconscious? Or are they information that seeps into the present from moments when time is bent? Sometimes we see images in our dreams of events we have not yet experienced, people we have not yet met, or places we do not know. Is this coincidence? Or is it a clue about the structure of time? The mind operates at different frequencies while asleep. This may allow us to access certain information that is inaccessible to our traditional consciousness. Perhaps this state enables us to touch the finer layers of time. In that case, dreams could be a natural window into the future, even if some dreams are not experienced in their entirety. They can still evoke similar emotions or situations. This suggests that the future may seep into the present not only through events, but also through its emotional undercurrent. Dreams may be information coming not from the direction of time, but from its intensity. Seeing the future is not the same as feeling it. This may be what happens in dreams. Perhaps the mind, influenced by the pull of time, sensitively perceives certain events in advance. Dreams are not merely psychological releases. They may be the echoes of the future resonating in the echo chamber of time. Stepping outside of time seems to most people like a purely physical or science fiction concept. But what if time is not just a physical phenomenon? If consciousness can operate outside of time, then our awareness could transcend clocks and calendars. This would mean we are not confined to the moment. In some mystical experiences, it has been reported that the perception of time completely disappears during meditation or deep trance. People do not feel the past or the future at that moment. They simply exist. This is a hint of a form of consciousness that transcends time. Perhaps consciousness is not born into time, but only temporarily enters it. Being outside of time means being able to look at events from a different perspective. This state can reduce the burden of life, because a consciousness freed from the pressure of time makes decisions with clarity and integrity rather than fear or haste. This may be true freedom. If a state of consciousness that can step outside of time is truly possible, then the purpose of life is not merely to pass by. It is to transcend time. Such a state could open the door to the idea that consciousness can continue after death. In other words, consciousness is not a light that falls into time. It is an illumination that transcends it. In our familiar way of thinking, we remember the past and predict the future. But what if the truth is the exact opposite? What if the past is only an echo and the future is the real force calling us to itself? Perhaps the past is only a backward-looking echo, while the real force that determines our direction is the call of the future. Many people act on a strong instinct without knowing what to do at certain moments in their lives. That instinct often comes not from the past, but from the call of the future. What is felt at that moment is not a memory, but a kind of guidance. These are moments when the future is trying to shape us, even if unconsciously. Living in the past means not hearing the call because what happened in the past is fixed. It cannot be changed. But the future has not yet happened, so it can communicate with us. Its call sometimes comes to us as an inner voice, sometimes as a coincidence, sometimes as a dream. And these calls transform us. Remembering the past defines us, but being called by the future changes us. True transformation is experienced not with the past, but with the future. Because while the past only tells us where we came from, the future whispers where it wants to take us. The assumption that our memory belongs only to the past is also being questioned scientifically. Perhaps our brain stores all time-related data, but we can only consciously remember what pertains to the past. What about the future? What if we remember it too, but we don't notice it because those moments haven't happened yet? Some intuitions, premonitions, and the unexplainable feeling of, "I knew that," support this idea. Perhaps our subconscious processes future data, but cannot bring it to the conscious level. That's why when certain events occur, we say, "I felt that coming," because we truly remembered it. This situation shows that time has a multi-dimensional structure, just like saving a file on a computer and then opening it later. Some fragments of time may be stored in our minds, but are not yet visible. Some parts of the future may be dormant in our mental memory. This idea shows that the human mind is connected not only to the past, but also to the future. If the future is something that can be remembered, then it is clear that life does not progress in a linear fashion. In that case, consciousness is not just a memory space that carries the past, but also the future. Instead of just talking about theories about the future, could there be a real, tangible aspect to it? Some people claim to have experienced this through concepts like premonition or intuition. If these sensations are real, then the future is not a passive time frame, but an active field of interaction. With this idea, the future is no longer an abstract possibility, but a tangible space. Perhaps the mind can connect with this space when it operates at certain frequencies. In that case, intuition becomes a tool for understanding the future, a form of perception that operates not with knowledge, but with feeling. This is also very valuable philosophically, because when we realize that not everything we feel comes from the past, we understand that life flows within a much broader time frame. If the future is constructed by consciousness, it is also possible for it to make contact with us. If the future can be felt, this makes us a different kind of human being. A mind that is not bound to the past, but oriented toward the future, capable of relating to what has not yet happened. The evolution of this mind is based on understanding time rather than living it. The idea that the universe is a living structure has influenced many people, from ancient philosophers to modern scientists. If the universe is an organism, then time could be its pulse. Every moment is a cycle of the universe, like a heartbeat. We exist within those beats. This metaphor explains why time sometimes seems to pass quickly and sometimes slowly. Perhaps time is not a river, but a rhythm, just like tempo in music. Major events in the universe accelerate or slow down this tempo. This, in turn, affects our perception of time. This perspective takes time out of being merely a measuring tool. It turns it into a rhythm that we can listen to and feel. To understand time, we need to harmonize with it, not calculate it. The pulse of the universe also guides our internal rhythm. If time is truly a pulse, then we are formed a little more with each beat. If every second is thought of as a moment in the life of the universe, then our existence becomes a consciousness that beats with it. In other words, time does not pass, the universe lives. At the quantum level, time can work in reverse. Quantum physics offers examples that overturn the classical understanding of time when examining the smallest building blocks of the universe. In particular, delayed choice experiments show that the past state of a particle is determined by its future measurement preference. In other words, time may be bidirectional at the microscopic level. The past and future influence each other simultaneously. This striking situation opens the door to the idea that time is not just a river flowing forward. Perhaps time is not a river. It is a multidimensional energy field. Within this field, the past and future may be sending signals to each other without our awareness. We, however, can only perceive one direction from the past to the future. The reversal of time at the quantum level also reinforces the idea that what we call choice is predetermined. Perhaps some of our decisions are formed by information sent back from future outcomes. Time may not just be carrying us along. Our future may be shaping our present moments. If we accept this idea, time ceases to be a process of remembering and waiting. Our minds may be as connected to the future as they are to the past. Intuition, premonitions, and unexplainable feelings could be echoes of time's dual nature within us. Perhaps consciousness is a bridge vibrating between these two directions. How do we know that time is passing? The most honest answer to this question is through memory. Our records of the past accumulate. Events are arranged chronologically in our minds, and we call this time passing. But what if nothing is actually passing? What if we only feel that time is moving forward because our records are increasing? From this perspective, time is not a process flowing outside of us, but an impression that accumulates within us. The essence of experiencing time lies in creating memories. That's why some days fly by, while others seem to never end. It's not time that changes, but the intensity of the memories associated with that day. As our memory grows, past emotions and events deepen. This creates what we perceive as the length of time. We cannot know whether time actually passes, but we can feel that it accumulates. Therefore, it is not time itself that is real. It is the things we remember that are real. Being aware of this adds a different dimension to our lives. Every moment is not just a second. It is a building block that will determine the length of time in the future. The length of our lives is not so much about how many days we have lived, but how many memories we have accumulated. Time is measured by memories, not by clocks. A plan is a mental design that a person makes for the future. But a program is an order that works within us from an external system. If the future does not work as we planned, but rather as if it were already written in a program, then we may be part of that structure. The future is then not something that is created, but something that is implemented. This idea opens up the question of individual will. Perhaps we are not as free as we think. The turning points in our lives are not determined by our decisions, but by the natural flow of that program. We are left with only the freedom to act in accordance with that program. Not choice, but scenario. The idea of a program also aligns with the concept of a universal order. Every part of the universe operates according to specific mathematical rules. Perhaps the functioning of time itself is programmed within these rules. In that case, the future could be not something imagined, but a code systematically in motion. Although this perspective may seem frightening, it brings a sense of surrender because there is no longer a need to strive for control. What matters is understanding where we are in the program and moving forward in harmony with it. Perhaps we need to learn to read the future rather than write it. We often imagine time as a path, a surface we walk on, leave behind, and move forward. But what if time is not a path, Perhaps it is a hook that pulls us from where we are and drags us towards somewhere else. If the future is the tip of that hook, then we are being dragged toward it. This metaphor suggests that time is not a passive ground, but an active force. We are not moving forward. Time is pulling us. Just as a fish cannot escape once it is hooked, we are caught in the pull of time the moment we experience it. The future pulls us in before we can reach it. This idea gives rise to the notion that time is not a direction, but a force. Perhaps time is not an energy that carries us, but an energy that calls us. Every passing second means that this energy is pulling us further. That is why time feels faster as we age. The pull grows stronger. If we accept that time works like a hook, then living is no longer walking, but being dragged along. In this dragging, it is not how much resistance we show that matters, but how conscious we are. Because being hooked is destiny, but seeing the direction of the hook is awareness. Stopping time is one of humanity's ancient dreams. Yet perhaps the issue is not to stop it, but to recognize its direction. Slowing down or stopping time without knowing where it is flowing is meaningless. The real question is, where is time taking us? Most people imagine time as horizontal, not vertical. However, time can bend in different directions for each individual. Some are stuck in the past, some flow toward the future, and some spin around in the present moment. Without knowing the direction of time, it is impossible to understand our place within it. With this perspective, a map of time can be drawn. If we look not at the sequence of events in our lives, but at their direction, we can see that a direction is actually forming. This direction sometimes points to decline, sometimes to rise, and sometimes to stagnation. Time is not flat. It is a vector experience. The way to manage time is not to cut it off, but to listen to it. Every second whispers a direction to us. We cannot stop time, but we can be aware of which direction we are moving in. This awareness gives rise to a more valuable level of consciousness than simply using time seeing time. The concept of time travel is often imagined as a conscious transition made with a vehicle. But what if the future is not a destination, but a structure that pulls us in like a pit? Then we don't go to the future, we fall into it. This difference completely changes our relationship with time. The idea of falling into the future requires accepting that control lies not with us, but with time. Perhaps we do not decide and go in a certain direction. Instead, we fall into moments when the future calls us, opens up, and pulls us in. This fall can sometimes be a moment of decision, sometimes a coincidence, and sometimes an inevitable crisis. This perspective suggests that time is not a passive mechanism, but an active field. Like gravity, time pulls us towards certain areas of intensity. The turning points we experience in our lives may be moments when we fall into these time pits. There's no way back from there, only transformation. This awareness teaches us not to fight against time, but to understand its dimensions. The future is not a map, but a magnetic field. As we approach it, it is impossible not to fall into it. What matters is not managing these falls, but understanding the message they carry. People often see the future as an idea or a dream. But perhaps the future is not just about the mind. Perhaps the future, like north or south, represents an existing direction. In this case, the future is not a question of what will happen, but where are we going? Thinking of the future as a direction implies that time is not just content, but also a framework. Like an arrow, it pushes us in that direction at every moment. Whether we are aware of it or not, every thought and every action we take is shaped by this direction. The future is therefore not just an intention, but a slope. With this idea, Our life journey becomes a map. The future is like a direction with a clear route, but an uncertain landscape. Even if we don't know where we are going, the direction is determined by the angle at which we are moving. Just like a flower turning toward the sun, we live unconsciously facing the future. If the future is a direction, then to change it, we must change our direction, not the content. What determines the future is not what we want, but where we look. The direction of our eyes, the direction of our hearts, the direction of our thoughts, each determines the angle of the future. Does time always move forward? Or can it change direction under certain conditions, if this is possible? Then what we call the past is not fixed, but a structure that can be rewritten. In this case, the direction of time affects not only the future, but also the past. In physics, entropy is one of the fundamental criteria that determines the direction of time. However, even entropy can work backward in some systems. This shows that the direction of time is not a universal constant. Perhaps time changes direction according to the conditions we find ourselves in. If the direction of time changes, our view of history also changes. The past can be shaped not by remembering, but by reimagining. Memory, in this case, becomes a tool dependent not on the flow of time, but on its direction. And sometimes, when a direction changes, we may feel as if our past has changed as well. If the direction of time is not singular, then history is not absolute. In that case, everything we experience is merely one version. A different flow of time creates a different history. Perhaps alternative timelines are flowing in different directions at the same time. We are simply aware of one of them. We are accustomed to seeing time as a fixed structure and consciousness as light moving within it. But what if it is the opposite? What if what we call time actually originates from consciousness? In that case, the future is not a period to be experienced. It is a state of consciousness that will come into being. The flow of consciousness constantly changes direction, intensifies, sometimes expands, sometimes contracts. This movement directly affects our perception of time. Perhaps we are not moving forward in time. Time is born as consciousness flows. In this case, the future is a new layer that our level of consciousness has reached. This perspective makes time a more individual and internal phenomenon. Each person's time is different because the flow of consciousness is different. The same event may seem endless to one person and pass in an instant to another. The length of time depends on the intensity of consciousness. If the future is the result of the flow of consciousness, then destiny is not passive either. As we think, feel, and become aware, new layers of time open up. The future is not a route, but a depth. The deeper consciousness becomes, the more multidimensional time becomes. The idea that all life forms, all beings, are drawn to a common point of attraction is found in both ancient teachings and modern science. If time is an energy field, and the future is at its most intense center, consciousness may naturally be drawn to this center. This center is not a single moment. It could be a focal point, like a black hole. It may draw all timelines into itself. We are beings shaped by the pull of this center. Our thoughts, choices, and transformations are all oriented toward that center. This idea makes individual life part of a universal journey. The future is not just what will happen to me. It is a great center of formation that we are all collectively drawn to. Universal consciousness is moving toward this center, and we are moving forward as part of it. This understanding can carry both destiny and freedom, because even though everyone is drawn to the same center, how we reach it may be up to us. The future calls us all, But how we respond depends on our level of consciousness. We always rely on external tools to measure time clocks, calendars, stopwatches. However, time is also related to how it works within us. The fact that the same minute can pass like a lifetime for some and like the blink of an eye for others shows that the true measure of time is internal. Moments of awareness are experienced more intensely, which makes time feel longer. Moments spent without awareness are like lost time. Even if hours pass, they leave no mental trace. This difference is not just a subjective perception, but also a neurological reality. The more attention our mind gives to a situation and the more emotionally connected we are to it, the more detailed our memory of those moments becomes. This creates the sensation that time has stretched. Conversely, in monotony or an automated lifestyle, the brain does not make new recordings, and time seems to pass quickly. In other words, it is possible to intensify time through awareness. This way of thinking emphasizes the idea of actively living time rather than passively spending it. Time is not a consumable object, but a space for experience. It is not hours, but levels of awareness that determine the quality of time. This is why certain moments in life are unforgettable, because awareness was at its highest level in those moments. To expand time, we need not a new day, but a new awareness. In this case, time is not just an external reality. It is a phenomenon shaped by consciousness. We often think that we determine the future. If this happens, I will be like that. If I do this, I will reach that point. But what if the future is already shaping us? What if what determines who we are is not our past, but the future we are moving toward? This idea introduces a radical difference in the way time works. The past starts us, but the future may complete us. Just as a painter looks at a blank canvas and directs his brushstrokes according to the future painting, we too may be making decisions unconsciously in response to the call of the future. Perhaps the purpose we feel is the unconscious influence of that future. The flow of life sometimes arises not only from memories, but also from the shaping influence of what has not yet happened. The future is not just a direction, it is a shaper. From this perspective, the question of who we are as individuals is answered not only by what we have experienced in the past, but also by the possibilities of the future that we are drawn to. In other words, an unlived future may be the invisible architect of our present identity. Perhaps some aspects of ourselves are shaped by situations we have not yet encountered. This lends weight to the idea that time can have a backward effect, not just a forward one. This awareness takes personal development to a whole new level, because transformation is no longer just about repairing the past, but about shaping the future. Who we are is revealed not so much by the traces of the past, but by our responses to the call of the future. In that case, the future is not a direction, but a mold, and we are constantly being redefined by its influence spreading within us. We generally think of time as a linear path. It has a beginning and an end. We move forward along it. However, the idea that time can function like an organism offers a much deeper and more dynamic structure. Perhaps time is something that lives, has a pulse, responds, grows, and shrinks. In this case, we are not beings moving within it, but beings growing with it. Just as different parts of an organism have different functions, time may have regions of different intensity. Sometimes time seems to speed up, sometimes it slows down. These differences are not just psychological. They may stem from the variability inherent in the nature of time itself. In other words, time is not a straight path, but a constantly changing structure within a living system. When we think of time as an organism, Moments are no longer isolated points. Each moment influences the next and is part of a system. This wholeness connects the past and the future rather than separating them. One cell can receive a signal from the past, while another cell can prepare for a future response. We are like cells in the time organism. We are sensitive, influential, and susceptible to influence. This approach transforms time from a consumable resource into a living entity to be understood. The sense of time is no longer tied to clocks. It is based on feeling the internal rhythm of the organism. Living in harmony with time is not about trying to conquer it. It is about participating in its breathing. Perhaps the most balanced life is one that aligns with the rhythm of the time organism. Aging alongside time seems like an accepted reality. But perhaps aging is not so much a result of time flowing as it is of being drawn toward its center. We may age not because we are getting closer to the center of the future with each passing year, but because we are becoming more compressed under the gravitational pull of time. In this case, age is not progress, it is contraction. If time is an energy field, then as we approach the center, this field becomes more intense. Just as matter approaching the center of a black hole distorts our perception of time, we too may be changing shape under the gravitational pull of time. As we age, this contraction is not only physical, but also mental and spiritual. Life contracts because time intensifies. This is why time feels expansive in childhood. Life appears long, and we are farther from the center, and the gravitational pull is weaker. But as we age, time compresses, and the same days feel shorter and more intertwined. This compression is not merely an external effect. It is time itself penetrating us more deeply. Time is not moving forward. We are being drawn into it. This is why we age. This awareness changes our view of age. Aging is no longer wear and tear. It is approaching the center. And if this approach is conscious, it can be experienced as an intensification rather than a contraction. Every great mind that has tried to figure out how the universe works has faced time at some point, because time isn't just a detail flowing within existence. It's the key to how it works. If the universe has a conscious or systematic side, it shows itself most clearly through time. So understanding time is like understanding what the universe wants to do. The forward flow of time is based on the principle of development and transformation. Everything changes. Nothing remains the same. This is not only a physical, but also a philosophical orientation. Perhaps the purpose of the universe is not just to exist, but to be in the process of becoming. Time is the language and tool of this process. To decipher it is to sense the direction of the universe. If time is not a goal, but a tool, its functioning reveals the universe's intention. The evolutionary development of human history, the harmonious cycles in nature, and the cosmic order all come into being with time. Understanding the structure of time is understanding where the universe wants to take us. Time is not just physics. It can be a direction, a will. When viewed with this awareness, time is no longer just something to be measured. It becomes a presence to be sensed. If the universe has a purpose, time is its steps. As long as we are aware of these steps, we do not just live life, we give it meaning. Solving time is the natural quest of the human mind that seeks to uncover its secrets. For centuries, philosophers, scientists, and mystics have tried to understand the nature of time. But perhaps time is not a mystery to be solved. It is a rhythm to be felt and harmonized with. Just like a melody in music, time may contain an inner harmony. And the point is not to understand it mathematically, but to achieve spiritual balance. The most painful way of existing in time is to resist it. People who fight against time are constantly rushing, constantly late, or stuck in the past. This leads to mental conflict and spiritual exhaustion. However, for those who live in harmony with time, time neither flows quickly nor slowly because they have balanced the rhythm of time with their inner rhythm. This is not just a lifestyle, it is a state of consciousness. Harmony is not passive acceptance. On the contrary, it is listening to the inner flow of time with deep awareness and moving with it. Every person's internal clock is different. And when this internal understanding of time conflicts with external time, stress arises. However, when a person lives according to their own internal clock, they do not need to make an effort to control time because harmony, not control, is the foundation of a healthy relationship with time. Perhaps time is neither good nor bad. It simply is. Listening to it instead of racing against it means living life deeply rather than just passing through it. Time is often perceived as a continuous and uninterrupted flow. However, the idea that time may contain gaps, cracks, or fractures at both the physical and metaphysical levels is gaining increasing attention. In this case, the question arises, if time is not continuous, who falls into those gaps? What happens to what falls? Lost memories, unexplained events, or the feeling of, where did the day go, may be signs of disruptions within time. These gaps may be mental or spiritual spaces into which we fall. Sometimes we suddenly feel disconnected, as if we have been thrown out of time. We do not belong to the present, the past, or the future. Perhaps those moments are points where the seams of time come undone, and we remain suspended there for a while. What we call spiritual emptiness is actually a rupture within time. Who falls into these voids? Perhaps it is only those whose minds are overloaded, who push time too hard. Perhaps thinking too much wears away time, and part of the mind seeps in through the worn places. That is why we sometimes have trouble remembering things or feel as if we have never lived a day. Memory gaps may parallel gaps in time. If time is a fabric, these gaps are its worn-out places. Recognizing the gaps in time is not just scientific curiosity. It is a profound dimension of being human. Because every person experiences moments in their life when they fall outside of time, a loss, a shock, a moment of awakening. When we think about the direction of time, we usually imagine it as a line, a plane extending from the past to the future. However, some theories claim that time does not flow in this way, or even that it is not linear. Perhaps time is not moving forward. It is bending inward, collapsing into itself. In this case, we are not moving forward in time, but simply deepening. Time thus gains depth rather than direction. The idea of time bending inward can be understood on both a physical and a mental level. When time ceases to be a dimension and becomes a volume, each moment curls inward toward the previous one. This takes the concept of living in the moment to a whole new level because we are not moving forward on a timeline outside ourselves. We are experiencing an inward intensification. This explains why time feels heavier with each passing year. In this model, the future is not a destination outside ourselves. It is a center growing within us. We are not walking toward it. Its weight is pulling us toward it. That is why life seems to speed up as it progresses, because we are no longer just aging. We are approaching the inner circles of time. Just as we experience compression as we move toward the center of a spiral structure, time may be pulling toward its own inner center. If time is bending inward, then the meaning of life is not external progress, but internal depth. We're not traveling toward the end of life, but toward its center. There is an important concept in quantum physics, the observer effect. A system can change the moment it is observed, and even the outcome can be determined by observation. This may affect not only the behavior of particles, but perhaps even the direction of time. Perhaps the direction in which time flows depends on who observes it and how. In other words, time is not absolute. It is a process that takes shape according to the observer. This idea opens the door to the notion that time is not a constant, but a field of possibilities. If an observer looks into time with a certain expectation, time may take shape according to that expectation. For example, for an observer looking with hope, time may move toward renewal, while for someone looking with anxiety, time may take shape toward decline. This explains the subjective nature of expressions such as "time is passing badly" or "how quickly time has passed." If the observer influences the direction of time, then our relationship with time also has creative power. We do not just live time, we produce it, direct it, and even change its intensity. Therefore, perspective is not just a psychological state. It becomes a tool with physical effects. The observer is not just a viewer, but a being that touches the inner structure of time. We generally think of the future as a goal. It stands somewhere far away, and we walk toward it. But perhaps the future is not a place. It is a radiance, a wave. We are shaped at the point where that light touches us. In this case, the future is not an external goal. It is a source that seeps into us, and we become ourselves at the point where this light intensifies. That is, in the now. This perspective turns everything we know about time upside down. The past no longer pushes us forward. The future pulls us toward itself. And the future reaches us before we reach it. Just as the light from a star reaches us first, the future may send its information, emotions, or direction to the present. We find our direction, make decisions, and change through contact with that light. The fact that the future behaves like light supports the idea that it is a form of energy. Like light, time spreads rapidly but remains invisible if it is not perceived. This light that seeps into us can sometimes be an intuition, sometimes an idea, sometimes just an inexplicable sense of direction. But it is always there and determines our direction. We move forward on the path that light opens up without even realizing it. Throughout history, humanity has dreamed of stopping time. Desires such as, "If only we could turn back time," or "If only we could freeze this moment," are fueled by the desire to control the flow of time. However, time cannot be stopped. Perhaps the real issue is not to stop it, but to see where it is flowing. Time may be a more directional and conscious flow than it appears, and we are only measuring it, not reading it. Seeing the direction of time is directly related to understanding the course of life. In our daily lives, we sometimes move forward, sometimes backward, and sometimes stand still. This does not mean that time is not flowing. It means that our relationship with it has changed direction. Life does not gain meaning by moving forward, but by the direction we lean toward in time. At some moments, the past calls us. At others, the future. And at others, the present holds us back. If we can truly learn to see time, there is no need to stop it in order to shape the future. The direction of time is a flow that is sometimes invisible, but can be perceived through feeling. Clues about the course of life are shaped by the direction time shows us. Recognizing this direction directly affects not only our personal decisions, but also our spiritual balance. We have thousands of memories, records, and evidence of the past. That is why the past seems more real. The future, on the other hand, remains abstract because it is an area that has not yet been experienced or touched. But what if this appearance is deceptive? What if the past is just a reflection and the future is the real focus of life? Perhaps the real truth lies there, and we are just living in its shadow. The future sometimes guides our lives with an idea, sometimes with an intuition, and sometimes with an impulse from our subconscious. The past, on the other hand, is only remembered, but its influence gradually weakens. Even though we live mentally in the past, we are constantly drawn to the future, both physically and spiritually, because every new moment brings us one step closer to it. In this sense, the future is not just a possibility, it is a center of reality. Moreover, the past cannot be changed, but our perception of the future can. This makes it a more dynamic reality. The fact that the future has not yet been experienced does not mean that it is ineffective. On the contrary, the greatest transformations are determined by our orientation toward the future. When an individual wants to change themselves, they refer to the future, not the past, because the potential of the future is much stronger than the fixity of the past. People who race against time actually accept its rules. Statements such as, "I must catch up before it's too late," and "I must succeed before I grow old," are based on the idea that time has absolute power over us. Although this race may appear to be an effort to become stronger, deep down, it is complete surrender to time's control. This is because we forget that everything we race against controls us. Racing against time brings not only a physical pace, but also psychological pressure. The desire for continuity, goals, and an obsession with success are all products of this race. However, instead of resisting the flow of time, moving with it is much more productive because time does not stop. No matter how fast we run, it is always ahead of us. Therefore, racing brings not victory, but exhaustion. If we want to overcome time, we must first make peace with it. Making peace begins with accepting it as it is. This is not inaction, it is conscious action. Instead of trying to keep up with the speed of time, existing alongside it allows life to flow more smoothly and healthily. This takes us from the stress of the race to the comfort of freedom. Simulation theory has become an increasingly debated way of thinking today. If the reality we live in is a simulation, then time is a module belonging to the software of this system. In this case, time is not an external physical reality. It becomes an interface, a construct, a building block. We do not experience time, we process life through time. According to this perspective, everything works like a pre-written algorithm. Time is necessary for the flow of this system. The sequence of events, the continuity of consciousness, and causality can only be simulated through time. In other words, time is software running in the background without us being aware of it. Just as there is a day-night cycle in a game, time serves the same function in the universe we live in. Simulation theory is not just science fiction. It is also a philosophical framework that questions existence. According to this theory, time itself is not real. It is an order created to create reality. This gives rise to the idea that time is not absolute, but flexible and manipulable. Perhaps dreams, intuitions, hours that pass suddenly, and the vagueness of memories are small errors in this software. From this perspective, we may not be consciousnesses moving within time, but rather parts of a system organized by time. In that case, freedom is not possible by transcending time, but by recognizing the nature of the simulation. Sometimes a scent, a melody, or an image can instantly transport us back years. This is not merely a mental recollection. It is as if a window that had fallen outside of time has reopened. Memories, in this sense, are not merely records of the past, but exceptional particles that have seeped into the structure of time. They belong not to the flow of time, but to its broken points. This is why some memories are very clear, while others are vague. Perhaps our minds can only reach the fragments that spill out of certain areas of time. Memories are not fixed. They may be echoes suspended in the voids of time. When we remember them, we are not actually touching the past, but the outside of time. This is why the feeling called nostalgia is not just remembering. It is a longing for something beyond time. If memories transcend time, this allows them to shape the present. A memory can change the course of our lives even years later, because that memory does not exist within time. It resides in the layers of consciousness beyond it. This also explains why memories are sometimes so real, vivid, and touching. They are not products of time, but of awareness. In this case, human memory is not a recording device. It is like an antenna with an organic connection to time. An event occurs, and we make sense of it in some way. But as time passes, our perspective on that event, the meaning we assign to it, and our feelings about it change. This may not just be due to us. It could also stem from time itself rewriting that event. Perhaps time is constantly looking back and reshaping the past. The past is not fixed. It is a sea that ripples with the flow of time. If time is not unidirectional, then its effect on the past is also possible. In this case, even past events are not completely finished. Each new level of consciousness sends a different energy to a memory from the past, and this energy changes the structure of that memory. That is why we feel the same event very differently in different periods, because that event has changed. It has been rewritten by time. This understanding takes traumas, regrets, joys, and victories to another dimension, because their impact is not only in the moment they occur, but also in how they are rewritten in subsequent times. This is not about working with time, but collaborating with it, because something that happened in the past can transform into something else through today's perception. That is why time is not a fixed book. It is a living, writing, erasing, and rewriting system. Physical time is divided into three parts: past, present, and future. But if time is a kind of field of information, this division may be misleading. Perhaps the past is still happening. The future has already begun. And the present is the point where these two fields intersect. In that case, time is not something that happens in sequence. It is layers that exist simultaneously. In this model, time functions like a field. Different events exist simultaneously within it. How we move within this field depends on the frequency we are at. That is why we sometimes remember the past as if it were today, and sometimes have startling intuitions about the future. They are all different regions of the same field. Only our position changes. If time is such a field of information, then living in the moment means shifting to the frequency that is most in tune with that field. In that case, instead of fighting with the past or fearing the future, we must learn to navigate this field of information with awareness. Everything may still be happening. We simply decide from which angle to perceive it. This idea transforms all our desire to control time, because what matters is no longer determining the direction of time, but reaching the right frequency within it. Scientists say that the universe is constantly expanding. However, this expansion may not be limited to space. Perhaps it is time itself that is expanding. As the universe grows, the dimensions of time may also expand, producing more future. In this case, the boundaries of the universe are also the boundaries of time. From this perspective, time is not static. It is an expanding entity. Every second may be expanding not only physical space, but also temporal potential. This could be an answer to the question of why the future seems infinite, because the future is the new moments produced by time as space expands. Such a thought explains why life feels like an endless quest. The future always exists because time is constantly opening up new spaces. While the past is fixed, the future is fluid. And every new moment is born with the universe expanding a little more. We are also part of this expansion. As consciousness, we also expand with time. If this is true, then time is not merely a vehicle carrying us forward. It is a living entity that evolves alongside us. And the expansion of time, like everything else in the universe, is imperceptible. But its effect is inevitable. Some of the decisions you make right now have no logical explanation. A voice inside you, a sense of direction, an impulse pulls you in that direction. Perhaps this voice is the echo of your future self. The person you have not yet met is shaping who you are today. This may be proof that time is not linear, but an intertwined structure. This approach changes the concept of I, because we are no longer just a product of the past. Our future selves may also have a say in our decisions today. This means that intuitive knowledge can be more powerful than rational explanations. The sense of direction that comes from within us is actually the call of our future selves. If this is true, then goals are not just planned, they are called. Sometimes when you question why you have to live certain things, you may be drawn to experiences that your future self needs. In that case, time is not just a process of the past. It is also a process in which the future takes initiative. This awareness gives a different meaning to the concept of destiny. Destiny is shaped not only by external conditions, but also by an inner time traveler who guides us. And on this journey, our deepest guide is the us we have not yet encountered. Sometimes we are overcome by a feeling we cannot explain. I feel like it will be like this, we say. There is no logical data, but the feeling is real. Perhaps these intuitions are small leaks of the future whispering to the present. We must think of time not as a completely impermeable curtain, but as a structure that leaks in places and comes into contact with consciousness. These intuitions are not merely individual emotions. They are frequencies from other moments trapped within time. Just as the light from a distant star reaches us, a distant future can reach our souls. We often mistake this vibration for imagination, anxiety, or inspiration. Yet perhaps intuition is simply the future announcing its own existence. This understanding changes a lot when combined with conscious awareness, because listening to intuition is not just instinctive. It is tracing the traces of a temporal interaction. And the way time works in this way shows that destiny is not unchangeable, but readable. Intuition is the first step in reading that text. Perhaps time does not speak to us loudly. It speaks through our intuition. Hearing it is more than taking a step toward the future. It is hearing time not as a line, but as a song. And whoever hears that melody will reach the language of the future first. Perceiving time as past, present, and future may stem from our mental limitations. Perhaps all time is hidden within a single moment. That moment is both infinite and invisible. What deceives us is our lack of attention to perceive that single moment. This idea keeps popping up in some mystical teachings and scientific speculations. What we think of as now is not just a transition. It could be the essence of all time. The layers of the past and future overlap in this single moment, and we only navigate the surface. But if we can delve deeper into that moment, we can reach the entirety of time. Becoming aware of this single moment begins with ceasing to race against time, because only in that moment is their complete consciousness. Our minds generally live either in the past or in the future, but our hearts always beat in the present moment. Perhaps time is something perceived by the heart, not the mind. That is why the past and future are merely imaginings of that single moment. From this perspective, time is not an infinite line. It is a single point that can open up infinitely. All memories, dreams, and possibilities spread out from that point. And we do not live when we become aware of it. We live when we truly are in that single moment. The idea that the entire universe possesses consciousness is increasingly accepted by quantum physicists and mystical traditions. If time is a fundamental component of the universe, why shouldn't it have its own consciousness? Perhaps time is not just flowing, it is perceiving us, shaping itself according to us. Although this idea may seem abstract at first, some aspects of everyday life support it. At certain moments, we feel as if time is expanding or contracting with us. Time sometimes cooperates with us, sometimes constricts us. This is not just an internal perception. It suggests that time may be a field of consciousness that responds to our mental state. If time has consciousness, this does not make it manageable. It transforms it into a structure with which we can establish a relationship, rather than seeing it as an enemy or a coercive force. We need to develop a mind that converses with it and establishes harmony. Time perhaps flows with those who understand it and hardens with those who resist it. Understanding the consciousness of time adds another layer of depth to every aspect of life. It is no longer about the clock, it is about rhythm. It is no longer about duration, it is about proximity. And time experienced with this consciousness becomes not just a passing process, but one that leaves a mark. A large part of the universe is silent, dark, and invisible. In contrast, the human mind is constantly filled with an inner voice, a crowd of thoughts. Perhaps this inner noise is the point at which time takes us captive. And the silence of the universe exists to balance this noise, because time may only exist when it is audible. When our minds are silent, time slows down. In moments of meditation, when we are at one with nature, we say that time has stopped. But it has not stopped. It has simply lost its voice. A mind free of noise senses not the presence of time, but its absence. This leads us to believe that time does not just flow, but also speaks. The silence of the universe is an antidote to this sound of time. Cosmic voids, intergalactic distances, places where even light cannot reach, all of these may not exist to prevent time from passing, but to suppress its internal rhythm. And when we listen to that silence, we perceive time more deeply. Therefore, to understand time, we must not speak but remain silent. To reduce noise, silence thoughts, stop those internal clocks. To hear time, we must first reach the universal silence beneath its sound. We usually associate time with movement. The world turns, seasons pass, we grow older. But the real indicator of time is not movement, but transformation, because some things never change, even after a long time, while others change completely in an instant. This shows that time is not measured by quantity, but by content. A 1-minute encounter can be worth a lifetime. A 10-year routine may not be as transformative as a single word. This tells us that time is not an objective thing. It is shaped by the depth of our experiences. Time gains meaning not through numbers, but through the rate of transformation it contains. This idea is an approach that changes how we manage life. Instead of calendars and clocks, transformation and awareness become the focus. The question, how much have you changed, becomes the true measure. And this is a way of thinking that deepens time rather than speeding it up. It is impossible to control time. But when we realize its relationship with transformation, we can elevate every moment we live to another level. Because time does not exist by how much it has passed, but by how much it has changed. If we think of life as a movie, time is the flow of that movie. But perhaps we are not experiencing the entire flow. We are stuck in a single frame, a single scene. Our consciousness does not see the whole movie. It only replays that moment over and over again. And our sense of time comes from that repetition. According to this idea, many of the repetitions we experience, even some fate-like events, may be caused by being stuck in the same frame, the same relationship cycles, the same mistakes, the same inner conflicts. All of them may indicate that time is not flowing, but that we are replaying the frame we are stuck in over and over again. Then, liberation isn't waiting for time to flow. It's learning to step out of that frame. That means expanding awareness, breaking mental fixations, and shifting to a new perspective. If the film is playing but we don't notice, there's no change. But when the frame changes, time starts flowing again. Realizing that time works like a film frees us from the illusion of repetition. If we wake up in the same scene every day, perhaps it is not time that has stopped but us. The film continues, but we do not notice because we are standing still. At the center of everything, there may be a core where time itself is born. Just as time is zero at the point of a black hole, there may be a center in our lives where time first begins. This center is not our birth. It is the moment we first come into contact with consciousness, the moment we first become aware of ourselves. This core of time may be connected to the center of every choice we make throughout our lives. We always want to return there. Perhaps nostalgia is the subconscious longing for this core. The moments that always feel most real are experienced near this center because time is more intense there. This core is also the source of time. All possibilities emanate from it. When we become aware of it, we begin to understand time, not control it. Because everything returns to it. Every decision serves it. The path of life is not straight. It may be a spiral toward that center. Understanding time begins with recognizing this core. Those who hear its voice understand the direction of time. Because the beginning is not only in the past, it is a heart of time still beating within us. Developing wisdom, changing perspectives, increasing awareness, all of these change our view of the past. Perhaps this change is not only psychological, it is an intervention in time itself. A future level of consciousness can truly rebuild the past. This suggests that time is not linear, but circular. An understanding we develop in the future can erase the effects of traumas we experienced in the past. Then the past no longer exists in its old form, but as transformed content. Even memory changes, even emotions. In this case, the direction of time may be variable because the past is not a fixed record, but a constantly redefined content. And this content can be shaped by the wisdom we attain in the future. The future us can influence the past us. This explains the relationship between forgiveness, understanding, and acceptance and time. It shows that time is not unidirectional and that even time itself softens when viewed with love. Perhaps time does not carry the past. It rewrites it with the light of the future. We often imagine time as a path, a corridor. But perhaps it is a labyrinth. Every decision, every choice leads us to another room. And in those rooms, different realities, different outcomes are hidden. In this case, time is not linear. It is multidimensional and infinite in direction. Finding one's way in this labyrinth is not easy, because every now may hide a door, a word, a step, a thought. All of them can take us into another temporal room, and we live without realizing it. Perhaps the feeling of déjà vu stems from these sudden leaps between rooms. If time is a labyrinth, then every choice is not destiny. It determines our route. We can reach the same end by different paths. But which rooms we will stay in longer, which passages we will pass through, is up to us. Time here is not just a structure, it becomes the environment. Thinking of time in this way turns life into a discovery rather than a direction. If everything is certain, time becomes uninteresting. But if everything is possible, time becomes interesting. And those who are in this labyrinth do not pass through time. They experience it. When we think about the accuracy of history and personal memory, we realize that the past is not an absolute reality. How we remember an event is how the past is for us. Everything that is not in our memory is as if it never existed for us. This shows that the past is not fixed, but a structure shaped by perception. Two people can describe the same event differently because everyone sees it from their own perspective. This shows that the past is not objective. It is shaped entirely by a subjective universe. The past is not only what happened, it is what is remembered. Therefore, even a reality that happened in the past fades away if it is not remembered. This idea also questions our dependence on the past, because if the past is only what we remember, then all we need to change it is our memory, our interpretation, and our feelings. It is not time that can be changed. It is the past that can be recreated. Perhaps the past is the most fragile state of time. It changes when we touch it. And this gives us the opportunity not to escape the past, but to transform it. Thinking about time in this way gives us the power to shape the future more freely. Everything seems to be bound by time. But what if there is a realm outside of all this experience of time? There is no time there because there is no change, no movement, no waiting. There is only being. This realm is the pure state of consciousness. And in some mystical experiences or accounts of the afterlife, this state of timelessness is described. Timelessness is not emptiness. It is density. Everything happens at once. Nothing passes. Thoughts do not come, but consciousness does not disappear. This beyond of time is not the universe. It is the original state of existence. And perhaps time is only the outer layer of this space. The experience of time is the shell of timelessness. Realizing the existence of this realm deepens life as much as it deepens the understanding of death. Because those who feel timelessness are not slaves to time. They know the rhythm of life, but do not panic. They sense that everything happens at the right time because there is a balance outside of time. Perhaps true peace is approaching that timeless state. And when we observe time instead of fighting it, the door to that realm opens. When we are in a crowd, time seems to pass more quickly. But when we are alone, time almost stands still. Perhaps this is not a fundamental characteristic of time, but rather a dimension that interacts with sociality. Loneliness is a lens that lengthens time, while meaningful relationships shrink it. This is why an hour spent alone can feel like a day spent in a crowd. When our minds are engaged in social interaction, they divide time into segments. Conversation, distractions, and shared activities make time flow smoothly. However, when we are alone, all attention turns inward. As introspection deepens, time slows down. Perhaps time reveals its true face, not when we are with others, but when we are alone with ourselves. This may indicate that time is only fully perceived during moments of solitude because crowds obscure time. Solitude reveals it. Everything experienced in solitude becomes more distinct, longer, and more impactful. This is not a mental illusion. It is a powerful example of how time is closely intertwined with perception. Therefore, solitude is inevitable for understanding time. A quiet mind feels the veins of time more clearly. Perhaps this is why great thinkers, mystics, and scientists have preferred solitude, because only when we are alone does time speak to us directly. We usually think of time as an abstract concept. It cannot be touched or seen. However, many physical processes perceive time as if it were matter. For example, the energy loss of a system is measured by time. This is time behaving as if it were something that can be exhausted. Perhaps time is not matter, but an experience that can be materialized. The relationship between energy and time is one of the best examples of this. When an object's energy decreases, time flows more slowly for it. Time bends around heavy objects. These examples suggest that time behaves like a medium. Perhaps time is not something that flows through space. It is a semi-physical structure that changes shape along with matter. With this idea, time is not merely a backdrop. It is an active participant that directly influences events. Perhaps time has a density. Some moments contain more dense time, while others are more sparse. We perceive this through feelings like time is dragging on, or how quickly time has passed. Time does not simply pass, it becomes denser or sparser. Thinking of time in this way gives it a new physical value. Perhaps time is the only entity in the universe that is immaterial but can behave like matter. In this case, time is a bridge between physics and metaphysics. Aging is explained by the passage of time. But it is not time itself that ages us. It is our relationship with it. Two people of the same age may look very young, while the other carries the weariness of the years. This difference is not a product of time, but of the meaning and emotional weight we give to time. Concepts such as stress, anxiety, calendar tracking, and fear of aging turn time into an enemy. However, people who live in the moment and focus on rhythm rather than the calendar remain fresher because they do not fight against time. Our bodies respond biologically to our mental perception of time. Being at peace with time is as powerful a protector as youth. Seeing time as an enemy rather than a friend can break a person down both emotionally and physically. However, when we see time as a life partner, we learn to dance with it. Perhaps time is not something that ages us, but rather a teacher that makes us grow without us noticing. How we view time determines how we age. With this understanding, time becomes a measure of maturity, not aging. We age not because time passes, but because we choose to fight it. If we manage to befriend time, the years become mere numbers. Our spirit remains forever young. The universe was silent for billions of years. Stars were born and died. Galaxies collided. Black holes formed. But none of them noticed time. Perhaps time was a system that could only be completed through awareness. And that is why it created humans. Because only humans can think about the passage of time, measure it, and give it meaning. The mere existence of time was not enough. It needed to be felt, questioned, even rejected. This is where humans came into play. Consciousness made time visible. Perhaps the purpose of time was to create an eye that could recognize it, because just as time flows, there must also be a consciousness that witnesses that flow. This idea takes the nature of time to a whole new place. We don't just live in time, we give it meaning and become its complement. This is also a striking claim about humanity's place in the universe. We are not just a species. We may be the only medium through which time can understand itself. Time gained meaning with us, and we deepened with it. And perhaps that is why time does not escape us. It draws us in. Because what gains meaning in its endless movement is not just movement, it is awareness. And humans are time's way of looking at itself. The more we think about time, the more we realize that it is not a line, but a structure of consciousness intertwined in layers, each carrying its own secrets. Perhaps time does not progress. We are opening doors to different rooms within it, waking up to a different now each time. Time is not just something that passes. It is a force that shapes us, calls us, and sometimes draws us in. The real question we should be asking is, are we really experiencing time, or is time experiencing us? If you can't find the answer, that's great, because some questions are meant to be pondered, felt, and sensed. And this was just a small spark of that endless thought. In a remote galaxy billions of light years away, a star 100 times more massive than our sun is dying. For a brief moment, it will unleash more energy than 1 trillion suns combined, sending shockwaves across space-time itself. The light from that explosion, a messenger carrying tales of cosmic violence, began its journey when Earth was still a molten world, a formless sphere of rock and fire. That light is now arriving, painting our telescopes with the final, brilliant act of a stellar giant. We perceive it as an event happening tonight. Yet the star itself has been a black hole or a scattered cloud of dust for eons. This delay, this gap between an event and its observation, is not a mere inconvenience. It is a fundamental law of the cosmos, a barrier that separates what is from what we can know. The universe is not a static picture we view through a window. It is a story told in echoes, and the narrator is light, a traveler bound by an absolute speed limit. That limit, 186,000 miles per second, is both our connection to the cosmos and our ultimate prison. It means the farther we look into space, the deeper we look into time. Seeing galaxies as they were when the universe was younger, smaller, and more turbulent. The starlight that reaches us from the Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest major neighbor, departed 2.5 million years ago. Beings on a planet in that galaxy, looking toward the Milky Way, would not see our civilization, our cities, or our satellites. They would see a sky where Earth is inhabited by early hominids, still millions of years away from forging tools or questioning the stars. Our present remains invisible to them, just as their present is a secret kept from us, locked behind a 2.5 million year wall of time. This cosmic horizon, the edge of what we can possibly see, is not a physical wall but a boundary of information. Beyond it lies a universe we can theorize about but never directly observe. Light from those unimaginably distant regions has not had enough time to reach us since the beginning of everything. 13.8 billion years ago, the universe might be infinite, stretching on forever with countless other galaxies, stars, and perhaps even other forms of life. But our knowledge is confined to a finite bubble, a sphere of observation with Earth at its center. Every direction we look, we see the past, and at the ultimate edge of that vision lies the faint, lingering glow of the universe's birth. This wall of light, the cosmic microwave background, is the oldest photograph we will ever possess. A baby picture of the cosmos when it was just 380,000 years old. It is a relic of a time when the universe was a hot, dense fog. Before the first stars ignited, before the first galaxies coalesced. It is the echo of creation, a whisper that fills all of space, carrying the seeds of everything that would ever exist. This boundary defines our reality, testament to the fact that we are participants in a cosmic story that began long before we arrived and will continue long after we are gone. We are latecomers to a drama of unimaginable scale, piecing together its plot from the ancient light that falls upon our world. Deep inside every atom in your body, an invisible war is raging. Protons packed together in the nucleus should tear themselves apart instantly. Their positive charges repel each other with tremendous force, like trying to push two powerful magnets together. Yet somehow they remain locked in place by the strongest force in the universe. The strong nuclear force operates at distances smaller than a single proton, but its power is absolute. Scientists measure it as 100 times stronger than electromagnetism and 100 trillion times stronger than gravity. If gravity were a whisper, the strong force would be a thunderclap that could shatter mountains. This force, the silent guardian of matter, is what allows existence as we know it. Without it, the universe would be a thin, uniform soup of hydrogen. A sea of lonely protons and electrons with no complexity, no stars, no planets, and no life. It is the architect of structure, the power that forges the elements in the hearts of stars and holds them together against the immense pressure and heat. Its very nature is a paradox of scale, a force of unimaginable might that operates only across the most infinitesimal distances. It is the titan in the atom, the power that builds worlds, one nucleus at a time. This force works through particles called gluons, which act like invisible chains, binding quarks together to form protons and neutrons. The more you try to pull these fundamental particles apart, the stronger the force becomes. It is like stretching a rubber band that grows thicker and more resistant with every inch you pull. This bizarre behavior, called confinement, means you can never isolate a single quark, no matter how much energy you apply. When you try to separate quarks, the energy you add simply creates new quarks and gluons, like trying to cut a chain only to have it grow new links. Inside each proton, 3 quarks dance in a prison of pure energy, a web of interactions so complex that even our most powerful supercomputers struggle to model it. This quantum prison is the foundation of all matter. It ensures that the building blocks of the universe remain stable, that protons do not decay into a spray of more fundamental particles, that the very substance of our reality holds together. This force shapes the very building blocks of matter. It determines which atomic nuclei can exist and which cannot. It sets the rate at which stars burn their nuclear fuel, a cosmic thermostat that dictates the lifetimes of suns. It controls the balance between creation and destruction in the hearts of every star across the cosmic void. Yet despite its incredible power, the strong force has a fatal weakness. Its reach extends only to the edge of an atomic nucleus, about 1/10,000,000th the width of a human hair. Beyond that microscopic realm, its influence vanishes completely, and other powers take control. It is a giant confined to a subatomic cage, a king whose absolute authority ends at the palace gates. Our spacecraft engines ignite with the power of 1,000 suns as we break free from Earth's gravitational embrace. The blue marble that has been humanity's home for millions of years shrinks to a pale dot behind us, then disappears entirely into the cosmic darkness. We are now truly alone in the void, beginning the longest journey any conscious being has ever attempted. The first challenge hits us immediately: the sheer scale of what we are attempting. To reach Andromeda, we must travel a distance so vast that light itself, moving at 186,000 miles per second, takes 2.5 million years to make this journey. If we could drive there in a car at highway speeds, never stopping, never sleeping. It would take us 30 billion years. But we have technology beyond current human imagination. Our vessel bends space and time around itself, creating a bubble of warped reality that allows us to slip between the normal rules of physics. We accelerate not through space, but through the fabric of space-time itself. The stars around us begin to shift and blur as we approach speeds that would have been impossible just moments before. This is the only way to traverse the void, not by conquering distance, but by redefining it. By treating the universe not as a space to be crossed, but as a tapestry to be folded. The journey is not just a physical one, it is a conceptual one. A shift in understanding how reality itself is constructed. As we leave our solar system behind, we pass through the Kuiper Belt, where ancient chunks of ice and rock drift in eternal darkness. These are the leftover building blocks of our solar system, frozen in time for 4.5 billion years. Pluto, once considered our 9th planet, appears as a lonely sentinel guarding the edge of everything we have ever known. It is a world of nitrogen glaciers and mountains of water ice, a testament to the cold, slow processes that shape the outer reaches of a star's influence. Beyond Pluto lies the Oort cloud, a spherical shell of icy objects that extends nearly a light year from our sun. This is where comets are born, in the frigid depths where temperatures drop to just a few degrees above absolute zero. We are entering a region where the sun's influence barely reaches, where the space between objects is so vast that collision is nearly impossible. The nearest star to our sun, Proxima Centauri, glows like a red ember in the distance. It would take conventional spacecraft over 70,000 years to reach it. But we pass it in what feels like minutes. We are now in interstellar space, the vast emptiness between star systems, where matter is so sparse that you could travel for millions of miles without encountering a single atom. This is where most space travelers would feel the crushing weight of isolation. But we push forward with purpose. The Andromeda Galaxy beckons from across the cosmic ocean, its spiral arms slowly rotating in a dance that has continued for billions of years. We are no longer bound by the limitations of our species or our world. We are explorers of the infinite. The very concept of a journey on this scale forces a re-evaluation of time. The 2.5 million years it takes light to cross the gulf between our galaxies is a period longer than the existence of our own species. Civilizations could rise and fall in the time it takes for a single photon to complete its voyage. The universe operates on timescales that make human history seem like the briefest flicker of a candle in a storm. Our technology, which folds space-time to make this journey possible, does not conquer time itself. It merely creates a pocket of local time, a bubble of distorted physics where our clocks tick at a different rate from the universe outside. For us, the journey may take years, but for the cosmos, millions of years will have passed. We will arrive in a future we can only guess at, a galaxy that has aged and evolved in ways we cannot predict. This temporal dislocation is the true price of cosmic travel. We are not just explorers of space. We are time travelers, adrift in the currents of a river that flows at different speeds in different places. The loneliness of the void is not just about the absence of matter. It is about the separation from a shared moment, a disconnection from the universal clock that governs all things. We are becoming untethered from our own history, an island of consciousness moving through a sea of time. This journey through the void is also a journey through the unseen. We enter the local void, a region of space so empty it defies comprehension. Here, between the galaxy clusters, matter exists in concentrations so low that an entire cubic meter of space might contain only a single atom. The temperature drops to just a few degrees above absolute zero, and the only light comes from distant galaxies billions of light years away. This is cosmic loneliness on a scale that breaks human understanding. If Earth were placed in the center of this void, our night sky would be completely black except for the faint glow of the Milky Way itself. No other galaxies would be visible to the naked eye. Ancient civilizations would have developed entirely different mythologies, religions, and scientific theories about the universe based on this profound isolation. But the void is not truly empty. Dark matter, the mysterious substance that makes up 85% of all matter in the universe, forms invisible scaffolding throughout this region. We cannot see it directly, but its gravitational influence shapes the very fabric of space-time around us. Our instruments detect its presence through subtle variations in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. It is the ghost in the machine, the silent architect of cosmic structure, holding galaxies together and guiding their dance across billions of years. As we travel deeper into the void, we encounter something unexpected: rogue planets, ejected from their home solar systems by gravitational interactions with passing stars. These orphaned worlds drift through the darkness, no longer warmed by any sun, their surfaces frozen solid, and their atmospheres collapsed into ice. One rogue planet we encounter tells a particularly haunting story. Its surface shows evidence of ancient oceans kilometers thick. Beneath that ice, our scanners detect something remarkable: a subsurface ocean, kept liquid by the planet's own radioactive decay. In this hidden sea, completely isolated from any star's light, primitive life forms might still exist. Evolved from organisms that survived their world's ejection into space billions of years ago. Life, it seems, can find a way even in the most desolate corners of the universe, a testament to its tenacity and adaptability. The void also contains the remnants of ancient galaxy collisions. Tidal streams of stars, stretched across millions of light years, mark the paths where smaller galaxies were torn apart by the gravity of larger ones. These stellar graveyards tell the violent history of cosmic evolution, where galaxy clusters grow by cannibalizing their smaller neighbors in a process that continues to this day. We pass through regions where the cosmic web itself is visible: vast filaments of dark matter and ordinary matter that connect galaxy clusters across hundreds of millions of light years. These structures formed in the early universe, when matter first began to clump together under the influence of gravity. They are the highways along which galaxies travel, the channels through which matter flows from one region of the universe to another. The silence here is absolute, broken only by the faint whisper of cosmic rays, high-energy particles traveling at nearly the speed of light, accelerated by unknown processes in the violent hearts of distant galaxies. These particles are messengers from the most extreme environments in the cosmos, carrying tales of stellar explosions and black hole jets. They are a constant reminder that even in the quietest parts of the universe, the echoes of unimaginable power can still be heard. Our journey is not just a passage through empty space. It is a reading of a cosmic history written in the language of gravity, light, and a silence more profound than any sound. Somewhere in the cosmos, a beam of pure energy tears through space at nearly the speed of light. For just 10 seconds, it releases more power than our sun will produce in its entire 10 billion-year lifetime. This is a gamma ray burst, and it represents the most powerful explosion the universe can create. These cosmic titans occur when the most massive stars in existence, Stellar giants containing the mass of 20 to 100 suns collapse into black holes. When these monsters finally exhaust their fusion reactions, gravity wins the ultimate battle. As the star's core implodes, it fires jets of matter and energy from its poles at 99% the speed of light. The collapsing core creates a newborn black hole surrounded by a disk of superheated material. Magnetic fields, twisted and amplified by the collapse, act like cosmic cannons, launching these jets outward with impossible precision. The jets punch through the dying star like bullets through tissue paper, emerging as focused beams of destruction that remain tightly collimated across vast distances. A single gamma ray burst can outshine 1 trillion stars. If you could see gamma rays with your eyes, these explosions would appear brighter than the full moon, even from galaxies billions of light years away. The energy released in seconds exceeds what 10 trillion hydrogen bombs could produce if they exploded every second for the entire age of the universe. The most powerful gamma ray burst ever detected, nicknamed the Boat for brightest of all time, occurred in October 2022. It was so intense that it saturated gamma ray detectors across the solar system and created detectable changes in Earth's upper atmosphere from a distance of 2 billion light years. That gives you a sense of how impossibly powerful these events truly are. The light we detect traveled for billions of years, carrying news of stellar deaths from when the universe was young and stars were more massive and violent than anything we see today. Scientists have detected bursts so distant, their light began traveling when the first stars were being born, less than 1 billion years after the Big Bang. These ancient beacons give us glimpses of the early cosmos, when massive stars lived fast and died violently, seeding space with heavy elements essential for later generations of stars and planets. But compared to what lurks in the darkness between galaxies, even these titans pale in comparison. At the heart of our galaxy sits a monster 4 million times more massive than the Sun. Sagittarius A star devours everything that ventures too close, from gas clouds to entire star systems. Yet this giant is considered small compared to the true titans of the cosmic deep. Some supermassive black holes contain the mass of 40 billion suns, compressed into a region smaller than our solar system. They are like cosmic vacuum cleaners, with gravity so intense that nothing, not even light, can escape once it crosses their event horizon. Space and time bend around them like water swirling down a drain, creating distortions that would seem impossible if we did not observe them directly. These gravitational monsters did not grow slowly. The most distant quasars shone from when the universe was less than 1 billion years old, powered by black holes that somehow grew to billions of solar masses in the cosmic equivalent of a few minutes. Normal stellar evolution simply cannot explain their existence. The leading theory suggests these giants began as massive seeds formed directly from collapsing gas clouds in the early universe, containing hundreds of thousands of solar masses from the moment of their birth. When gas spirals into a supermassive black hole, friction heats it to temperatures of millions of degrees. The material forms an accretion disk that glows brighter than 100 billion stars. The disk rotates so rapidly that matter near the inner edge travels at significant fractions of light speed, experiencing time dilation effects that would stretch seconds into hours for outside observers. The most luminous quasars can be seen from across the observable universe, like cosmic lighthouses broadcasting their presence across billions of light years. They outshine their entire host galaxies, making the combined light of hundreds of billions of stars seem dim by comparison. The most violent black holes launch jets of particles at nearly light speed, creating beams that stretch for hundreds of thousands of light years. These jets carry enough energy to reshape entire galaxies, heating gas clouds to millions of degrees and preventing new stars from forming across vast regions of space. The jets can remain active for millions of years, continuously pumping energy into their surroundings. Recent observations have revealed black holes that seem too massive for their host galaxies, breaking the normal relationships between central black hole mass and galactic properties. These overmassive giants challenge our understanding of how galaxies and their central black holes evolved together. They suggest a more violent, chaotic past, where mergers and cosmic collisions played an even greater role in shaping the universe than we previously thought. Something magnificent appears in the distance as we navigate the intergalactic medium. A galaxy cluster containing hundreds of individual galaxies, each one an island universe in its own right. The Virgo cluster spans 13 million light-years across space, containing more than 300 galaxies bound together by gravity in a cosmic dance that has continued for billions of years. As we approach this stellar metropolis, the scale becomes overwhelming. Each galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars, and many of these galaxies are larger than our own Milky Way. Some are elegant spirals with arms that sweep through space like frozen fireworks. Others are massive ellipticals that glow with the combined light of 1 trillion ancient suns. The largest galaxy in the cluster, Messier 87, dominates the central region like a cosmic giant. This massive elliptical galaxy contains over 1 trillion stars and harbors one of the most powerful black holes ever discovered. The black hole at its center is so massive that it contains the equivalent of 6.5 billion suns, and it is actively feeding on surrounding matter, creating jets of plasma that shoot out from its poles at nearly the speed of light. These jets extend for thousands of light years, creating a cosmic lighthouse that can be seen from billions of light years away. The energy released by matter falling into this black hole is so enormous that it heats the surrounding gas to millions of degrees, creating a hot, glowing atmosphere that pervades the entire galaxy cluster. Between the galaxies, we discover an invisible ocean of superheated gas, heated to temperatures of 50 million degrees Celsius by the gravitational energy of the cluster itself. This intergalactic medium contains more matter than all the stars in all the galaxies combined. Yet, it is so diffuse that it is completely invisible to the naked eye. Only our most sensitive instruments can detect its presence through the X-rays it emits as it radiates away its enormous heat. The cluster is also filled with dark matter, which makes up about 85% of all the matter here. This mysterious substance forms an invisible scaffolding that holds the entire cluster together, preventing the galaxies from flying apart despite their enormous speeds. Some galaxies are moving through the cluster at over 1,000 kilometers per second, fast enough to travel from Earth to the Moon in just 6 minutes. As we navigate through this cosmic city, we witness ongoing galactic interactions. Smaller galaxies are being torn apart by tidal forces, their stars stripped away to form long streamers that will eventually be absorbed by larger galaxies. This is galactic cannibalism on a massive scale, where the strong devour the weak in a process that has shaped the evolution of galaxies since the early universe. We witness something extraordinary: 2 galaxies locked in a gravitational death spiral, their collision unfolding over hundreds of millions of years. The antennae galaxies, once separate and distinct, are now merging in a cosmic catastrophe that will reshape both systems completely. Their spiral arms have been stretched and distorted into long tidal tails that extend for hundreds of thousands of light years. Resembling the antennae of a cosmic insect, the collision zone is a stellar nursery of unprecedented violence. Gas clouds from both galaxies are smashing together at speeds of hundreds of kilometers per second, compressing and heating the interstellar medium until it reaches temperatures where new stars can form. The rate of star formation here is 10 times higher than in normal galaxies, creating brilliant clusters of young, hot stars that burn with the intensity of blue-white diamonds. The merger is also creating something entirely new: globular clusters, dense balls of stars that will survive long after the collision is complete. These stellar cities contain hundreds of thousands of stars packed into regions just a few dozen light-years across. They are among the oldest objects in the universe, and new ones are being born in the chaos of this galactic collision. As we watch this cosmic catastrophe unfold, we realize we are seeing the future of our own galaxy. In approximately 4 billion years, the Milky Way will collide with the Andromeda Galaxy in a similar cosmic dance. The collision will take place over hundreds of millions of years, gradually reshaping both galaxies into something entirely new. The space between the colliding galaxies is not empty. It is filled with streams of stars that have been torn from their home galaxies by tidal forces. These stellar refugees will wander through intergalactic space for billions of years, no longer bound to any particular galaxy, despite the apparent violence of the collision. Individual stars rarely collide with each other. The distances between stars are so vast that most will simply be redistributed into new orbits around the merged galaxy's center. However, many planetary systems will be disrupted, their planets flung into new orbits or ejected from their home systems entirely. The collision is also creating something beautiful: shock waves that compress the interstellar medium and cause it to glow with brilliant colors. These cosmic fireworks paint the merger zone in shades of red, blue, and green, creating one of the most spectacular sights in the universe. This is the creative power of destruction, a force that tears down old structures to build new ones, a cycle of death and rebirth played out on a galactic scale. The universe is not a quiet, static place. It is a dynamic, evolving system, shaped by the constant interplay of gravity, matter, and energy. And in its most violent moments, it reveals its true, creative potential. But even these titans bow to forces that operate on scales beyond imagination. Across 13.8 billion light-years of space, an invisible force is winning a cosmic war. Every second, it pushes galaxies farther apart, stretching the very fabric of space-time itself. This mysterious power, called dark energy, makes up 70% of everything that exists. Yet, we know almost nothing about what it actually is. Dark energy is not like other forces. It does not weaken with distance like gravity or electromagnetism. Instead, as space expands, more dark energy appears to fill the void. The bigger the universe becomes, the faster it expands. It is like a cosmic gas pedal that only knows how to accelerate, growing stronger as it pushes everything apart. Scientists discovered this force by accident while studying distant supernovae in the 1990s. They expected the universe's expansion to be slowing down due to the gravitational pull of all the matter within it. Instead, they found the opposite. Space is expanding faster today than it was billions of years ago, as if some invisible hand is pulling everything apart with increasing strength. Think of the universe as a balloon being inflated by an invisible breath. Dark energy is that breath, causing every point on the balloon's surface to move away from every other point. Galaxies ride this expanding space like boats on a swelling ocean, powerless to resist the tide that carries them into the cosmic deep. The amount of dark energy in the universe increases as space expands. This seems to violate the conservation of energy, one of the most fundamental laws of physics. Yet, Observations consistently show that the energy density of dark energy remains constant even as the volume of space grows. Where this extra energy comes from remains completely unknown. It is as if the universe is creating energy out of nothing. A constant, pervasive miracle that defies our most basic understanding of reality. Current theories suggest dark energy might be a property of space itself, a kind of cosmic constant that Albert Einstein originally proposed and later called his greatest blunder. He introduced it to create a static universe. But perhaps he was right for the wrong reason. It may be the intrinsic energy of the vacuum, a baseline energy level that permeates all of reality. Others think it could be a dynamic field, a form of energy called quintessence that changes over time, or even evidence that our understanding of gravity needs major revision on cosmic scales. Whatever its true nature, dark energy is the dominant force in the universe's evolution, the silent driver of its ultimate fate. It is a force that does not act on objects, but on space itself. A constant, irresistible pressure that is slowly, inexorably pulling everything apart. The consequences of dark energy are profound and terrifying. In the far future, it will tear apart everything we see. First, galaxy clusters will separate beyond recognition, becoming isolated islands in an ocean of expanding darkness. The light from distant galaxies will be stretched to wavelengths so long that they become undetectable. Our cosmic horizon will shrink, leaving our own galaxy alone in an empty, black universe. Then, as the expansion continues to accelerate, individual galaxies will lose their ability to hold together against the cosmic tide. Stars will be stripped from their orbits, their light fading into the growing darkness. Eventually, even atoms themselves may be stretched apart in what scientists call the Big Rip. Stars will be extinguished, planets will drift away from their suns, and even the fundamental particles that make up matter will be separated by vast, uncrossable distances. Dark energy, which seems gentle today, will become the universe's final destroyer, unmaking everything that gravity and the other forces worked billions of years to create. It is a slow, patient apocalypse, a cosmic unraveling that will leave behind a cold, dark, and empty universe. The ultimate victory of emptiness over structure, of expansion over attraction. The final, silent end of everything we know. Imagine taking a mountain and compressing it down to the size of a sugar cube. The result would still be 1,000 times less dense than a neutron star. These cosmic lighthouses pack the mass of our sun into a sphere just 12 miles wide, creating gravitational fields so intense they warp light itself and bend space-time into impossible geometries. But gravity is not their most terrifying feature. Neutron stars possess magnetic fields 1 trillion times stronger than Earth's protective magnetosphere. These invisible force fields trap charged particles and accelerate them to nearly the speed of light, creating beams of radiation that sweep across space like cosmic searchlights. The magnetic field of a typical neutron star is so powerful it could erase every credit card on Earth from a distance of 600 miles. If you could somehow approach within 1,000 kilometers, the magnetic force would be strong enough to pull the iron from your blood. The field lines themselves become visible as they trap and channel streams of charged particles into narrow beams. When these magnetized neutron stars spin, they become pulsars, firing beams of radio waves and X-rays with the precision of atomic clocks. Some rotate 600 times per second, faster than a kitchen blender, yet maintain perfect timing that rivals the most accurate timepieces ever built. Each pulse marks another rotation of a stellar corpse spinning in the darkness. The surface of a neutron star is a realm of impossible physics where familiar matter cannot exist. The magnetic field is so strong, it stretches atoms into needle-like shapes aligned with the field lines. Normal atomic structure breaks down completely, replaced by exotic forms of matter that exist nowhere else in the universe. Any ordinary matter that falls onto a neutron star's surface would be compressed instantly into a layer just millimeters thick. The gravity is so intense that a marshmallow dropped from waist height would hit the surface with the force of a hydrogen bomb, releasing more energy than all the explosives used in World War II. Some neutron stars, called magnetars, have magnetic fields 1,000 times stronger still, approaching the maximum strength allowed by the laws of physics. When these objects experience magnetic quakes, their crusts crack and shift, releasing more energy in 1/10 of a second than our sun produces in 100,000 years. These magnetic cataclysms create giant flares that can be detected from across the galaxy. The most powerful magnetar flare ever recorded temporarily affected Earth's upper atmosphere from a distance of 50,000 light-years, demonstrating the incredible reach of these stellar remnants. The magnetic field around a magnetar is so intense that it affects the vacuum of space itself, causing it to become birefringent, like a crystal. Light waves become polarized as they pass through this magnetized void, providing astronomers with direct evidence of field strengths that exceed anything achievable in terrestrial laboratories. But these stellar remnants are only the beginning of nature's most extreme creations. Stretching across the observable universe are invisible threads that could slice through planets like wire through cheese. These cosmic superstrings, if they exist, are one-dimensional objects thinner than a proton, but potentially longer than galaxy clusters. They are scars left over from the birth of the universe itself, marking phase transitions in the fundamental structure of space-time. According to string theory, cosmic strings formed during the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, when the universe underwent rapid changes in its fundamental properties. They are like cracks in a frozen pond, marking the boundaries where different regions of space crystallized in slightly different ways as the cosmos cooled from its initial state of perfect symmetry. A cosmic string just 1 meter long would weigh as much as Earth. Yet these objects are so thin, they are essentially one-dimensional, having length but no width or height in the conventional sense. They exist at the very boundary between existence and nothingness, matter and energy, reality and pure mathematics made manifest. The energy contained within a cosmic string is almost incomprehensible. A string spanning the distance from Earth to the Moon would contain enough mass energy to power human civilization for trillions of years. Yet this enormous energy is concentrated in a line so thin that it has no measurable thickness, making cosmic strings the ultimate expression of energy density. If cosmic strings move through space, they create ripples in space-time itself, generating gravitational waves that could be detected by our most sensitive instruments. When two cosmic strings intersect, they can create loops that oscillate like guitar strings plucked by the hand of the universe itself, sending gravitational waves rippling outward at the speed of light. These cosmic string loops gradually lose energy through gravitational wave radiation, shrinking over time until they eventually disappear. Some scientists believe cosmic strings could act as cosmic highways, allowing faster-than-light travel through folded space. Others think cosmic strings might be windows into extra dimensions, hidden from our three-dimensional world. These theoretical monsters remain hidden in the mathematics of physics, waiting to be discovered or disproven by future observations. 4 billion light-years from Earth, A black hole the size of our solar system is launching a beam of particles that stretches across an entire galaxy. This jet of superheated plasma moves at 99.9% the speed of light, carrying enough energy to power 1 trillion stars while maintaining perfect focus across distances that dwarf human comprehension. Quasar jets are born in the chaos surrounding supermassive black holes, where space-time itself becomes a battlefield between gravity and magnetism. As matter spirals inward towards certain doom, it forms an accretion disk spinning at incredible velocities. Magnetic fields, amplified by the disk's rotation, become twisted into configurations that store enormous amounts of energy. These magnetic field lines act like cosmic particle accelerators, channeling material from the inner regions of the accretion disk into narrow beams that shoot outward from the black hole's poles. The same gravitational forces that should drag everything into oblivion instead launch some material back into space at relativistic speeds through this magnetic catapult mechanism. The jets are so straight, they appear drawn with a cosmic ruler held by divine hands. They maintain their narrow focus across distances of hundreds of thousands of light years, threading through space with precision no human technology could match. The particles within these jets carry energies millions of times greater than anything we can create in our most powerful particle accelerators on Earth. Individual protons race along the jet at speeds so close to light that their relativistic mass increases by factors of thousands, turning ordinary matter into cosmic bullets of incredible power. When a quasar jet points directly at Earth, we see it as a blazer, and the light appears to brighten and fade as the beam sweeps past us like a lighthouse. These blazers can vary in brightness by factors of hundreds within days or hours as turbulence in the jet creates bright knots of emission traveling toward us at apparent speeds faster than light itself. This faster-than-light motion is an illusion created by the geometry of observation. When material moving at 99% light speed travels almost directly toward us, it appears to cover vast distances in impossibly short times. The effect demonstrates just how close to the ultimate speed limit these cosmic jets actually travel. The most powerful quasar jets carry enough energy to heat entire galaxy clusters, blowing bubbles in the surrounding gas that persist for hundreds of millions of years. These cosmic blowtorches can prevent new stars from forming across regions spanning millions of light years, effectively sterilizing vast volumes of space. Recent observations have revealed jets that extend far beyond their host galaxies, stretching into the intergalactic medium where they continued to propagate for millions of years. These ancient jets carry the signature of black hole activity from cosmic epochs when the universe was younger and more violent than today. In a binary star system 30 million light-years away, a white dwarf star is slowly stealing material from its companion, like a cosmic vampire feeding on stellar blood. For millions of years, hydrogen gas flows from the larger star onto the compact remnant, building up layer by layer like snow accumulating on a mountainside. But this stellar snowball is approaching a deadly threshold that will trigger one of the universe's most precise explosions. White dwarf stars are the dense cores left behind when sun-like stars exhaust their nuclear fuel and shed their outer layers. These stellar remnants pack the mass of our sun into a sphere the size of Earth, creating matter so dense that a teaspoon would weigh as much as a car. The stolen material accumulates on the white dwarf's surface, compressed by gravity into a thin shell of hydrogen that gradually builds up pressure and temperature. When the white dwarf reaches exactly 1.4 times the mass of our sun, something catastrophic happens. This critical mass, known as the Chandrasekhar limit, represents the maximum weight that electron degeneracy pressure can support. Beyond this point, the star can no longer hold itself up against its own gravity. The accumulated material ignites in a runaway thermonuclear explosion that tears the entire star apart in seconds. This is a Type Ia supernova, and it represents one of the most precisely violent events in the universe. Every Type Ia supernova releases almost exactly the same amount of energy, because they all involve the same mass of material undergoing the same nuclear reaction. This cosmic standardization makes them perfect tools for measuring distances across billions of light years. The explosion shines with the light of 5 billion suns, visible from galaxies billions of light years away. For weeks, a single exploding white dwarf can outshine an entire galaxy. The explosion synthesizes and scatters elements essential for life across vast regions of space. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, and the nickel in coins were all forged in the hearts of exploding white dwarf stars. You are literally made of stellar ashes, scattered by these cosmic crematoriums billions of years ago. Two city-sized objects spiral toward each other through the darkness of space, locked in a gravitational death dance that has lasted for millions of years. They are neutron stars, the crushed cores of massive stars, and their collision will create the most violent event in the nearby universe, while forging elements more precious than anything in a king's treasury. Each neutron star contains more mass than our sun compressed into a sphere just 12 miles across. As they orbit closer and closer, the neutron stars distort each other's shapes through pure gravitational force. The orbital dance accelerates as energy bleeds away through gravitational waves, ripples in space-time that stretch and compress the very fabric of reality. Advanced detectors on Earth can measure these waves even though they change distances by less than 1/10,000th the width of a proton. In the final seconds before collision, the neutron stars complete hundreds of orbits per second. When they finally touch, they create a brief flash of gamma rays, followed by a longer-lived explosion called a kilonova. The merger forges elements heavier than iron through a process called rapid neutron capture. In the extreme conditions of the collision, atomic nuclei are bombarded with so many neutrons that they can barely absorb them fast enough. This creates unstable neutron-rich isotopes that decay into stable heavy elements, including gold, platinum, and uranium. A single neutron star merger produces quantities of gold equivalent to several Earth masses. The collision ejects this stellar treasure at speeds approaching 1/3 the speed of light, seeding nearby space with materials that will eventually find their way into future generations of planets and asteroids. The kilova light comes from billions of newly created atomic nuclei undergoing radioactive decay, creating a fireball that shines with the combined light of hundreds of millions of suns. 13.8 billion years ago, everything that exists today was compressed into a point smaller than a proton. All the matter and energy in the observable universe occupied a space with no dimensions at all. This was the Big Bang singularity, and it represents the ultimate expression of cosmic power, the moment when existence itself began. At this primordial moment, the laws of physics as we understand them break down completely. Temperature and density become infinite. Space and time have no meaning. The four fundamental forces were unified into a single, unimaginably powerful interaction. In the first fraction of a second, the universe expanded faster than light itself. This period of cosmic inflation stretched space by factors of billions in less time than it takes to blink. Space did not explode into pre-existing emptiness, but rather created new space as it grew. As the universe expanded and cooled, this cosmic unity shattered. The forces separated in a series of phase transitions that released enormous amounts of energy and determined the basic structure of physical law. First, gravity separated, then the strong force, and finally, electromagnetism split from the weak force. During the first minute, The universe cooled enough for the first atomic nuclei to form through a process called Big Bang nucleosynthesis. Protons and neutrons fused together in a cosmic forge that created most of the hydrogen and helium we see today. For 300,000 years, the universe remained opaque to light, a glowing fog filled with energy. Then came cosmic dawn. Electrons and atomic nuclei combined to form the first neutral atoms, allowing light to travel freely for the first time. This cosmic clearing created the afterglow we still see today as the cosmic microwave background radiation, a faint echo of creation itself. Beyond the realm of ordinary supernovae lies something far more violent. When a star containing 50 times the mass of our Sun finally runs out of nuclear fuel, it creates a hypernova, an explosion so energetic it dwarfs regular supernova by factors of 10 to 100. Only the most massive, rapidly rotating stars can trigger hypernovae. When the core of such a star collapses, it forms a black hole almost instantly. The star's rapid rotation creates an accretion disk around the newborn black hole, generating magnetic fields of unimaginable strength. These twisted magnetic field lines launch jets of matter and energy outward at 99.9% the speed of light. The jets bore through the collapsing star like cosmic drill bits, carrying enough energy to power our Sun for billions of years. The shock wave from the jet's passage heats the star's interior, triggering explosive nuclear burning throughout the stellar remnant. A single hypernova can synthesize more heavy elements than dozens of normal supernovae, scattering them across vast regions of space. Their shock waves can disrupt star formation across entire regions of galaxies. Two massive galaxy clusters race toward each other at speeds of thousands of miles per second. When these cosmic titans collide, they create the most energetic events in the universe since the Big Bang itself. Galaxy clusters are the largest gravitationally bound structures in the cosmos. When they collide, the energy released exceeds the combined output of all the stars in both clusters by factors of 1,000,000. The hot gas that fills the space between galaxies slams into each other at velocities approaching 5,000 miles per second. The collision creates shock waves that heat the gas to temperatures exceeding 100 million degrees. These cosmic crashes can trigger the formation of radio halos, spanning millions of light years, and bow shocks that propagate outward at thousands of kilometers per second. During the collision, individual galaxies experience their own violent encounters. Tidal forces can strip stars from galaxy outskirts, creating long streams of stellar debris. Hidden in the quantum foam that underlies all reality, lurks a possibility so terrifying that it could end everything we know in an instant. The Higgs field, which gives all particles their mass, might not be in its lowest possible energy state. If this field suddenly dropped to its true minimum, it would create a bubble of destruction that expands at light speed, rewriting the laws of physics and annihilating everything in its path. The Higgs field permeates every corner of space, like a ball balanced on a hill. This field might currently sit in what physicists call a false vacuum state. It appears stable, but it could potentially roll down to an even lower energy level. If vacuum decay began anywhere in the universe, it would create an expanding sphere of true vacuum moving outward at exactly the speed of light. Nothing could escape. We would have no warning. Inside the bubble of true vacuum, the fundamental constants of nature would be different. Particles might have different masses or not exist at all. Atoms as we know them could not form. Chemistry and biology would become impossible. The energy difference between the false vacuum and true vacuum would be released as the bubble expanded, exceeding the rest mass energy of all matter in the universe. Current calculations suggest that our vacuum might indeed be metastable. High-energy events like cosmic ray impacts or black hole evaporation could potentially trigger the transition. Even quantum fluctuations might spontaneously nucleate a bubble of true vacuum in empty space. The terrifying aspect of vacuum decay is its inevitability if the false vacuum state exists. Quantum mechanics guarantees that any metastable state will eventually decay. Over the vast timescales of cosmic evolution, even the most unlikely events become certain. Vacuum decay would be the ultimate cosmic reset button. Everything would be erased and replaced by a universe with fundamentally different physics in the first moments after the Big Bang. Tiny fluctuations in density could have collapsed to form black holes, more massive than mountains, yet smaller than atoms. These primordial black holes would possess gravitational fields so intense they warp space and time on scales invisible to the human eye. Unlike black holes formed from collapsing stars, primordial black holes could have any mass. The smallest ones would be quantum objects, where the strange rules of quantum mechanics clash with the absolute authority of general relativity. A primordial black hole with the mass of a mountain would be smaller than a proton. According to Stephen Hawking's calculations, black holes emit radiation and slowly evaporate over time. The smaller the black hole, the faster it evaporates and the more violently it dies. A primordial black hole with the mass of a large asteroid would explode with the energy of millions of hydrogen bombs. In its last second of existence, it would release more energy than our sun produces in an entire year, all concentrated in a point smaller than an atomic nucleus. If primordial black holes exist in large numbers, they could solve one of cosmology's greatest mysteries, the nature of dark matter. These invisible objects would exert gravitational influence without emitting light. The most massive primordial black holes could have served as seeds for the supermassive black holes we observe at the centers of galaxies today, solving the puzzle of how such enormous black holes could have formed so early in the universe's history, before the universe was even 1 second old. Space itself underwent the most violent expansion in cosmic history, in a period shorter than the time it takes light to cross a proton. The universe grew from smaller than an atom to larger than a grapefruit. This process, called cosmic inflation, represents the most powerful force ever unleashed, stretching space faster than the speed of light. The driving force was a quantum field called the inflaton, which filled all of space with an enormous energy density. Unlike normal matter, this field had the bizarre property of creating more energy as space expanded. Inflation solved several fundamental problems. It explains why the cosmic microwave background radiation has nearly identical temperatures in all directions. Quantum fluctuations in the inflaton field were stretched to cosmic scales, creating the density variations that would later grow into galaxies and galaxy clusters. When inflation finally ended, the inflaton field decayed into ordinary matter and radiation, reheating the universe to temperatures exceeding 10 to the 28th degrees. Some theories suggest that inflation is an eternal process that continues to create new regions of space-time beyond our observable universe. In this scenario, our entire cosmos might be just one bubble in an infinite multiverse where new universes are constantly being born. In the heart of a dying star, spinning at 1,000 revolutions per second, magnetic fields 1 trillion times stronger than Earth's are about to unleash destruction beyond imagination. This is a magnetorotational supernova, where the combination of extreme rotation and magnetic power creates explosions that dwarf even the mightiest gamma-ray bursts. When the most massive, rapidly rotating stars collapse, the conservation of angular momentum spins the core even faster. As the stellar core shrinks from the size of Earth to just 12 miles across, Its rotation rate increases by millions of times. The magnetic field lines, frozen into the collapsing plasma, become twisted and amplified until they reach strengths that approach the theoretical limits allowed by physics. These fields become so powerful they can influence the structure of space-time itself. When these magnetic structures finally become unstable and reconnect, they release their stored energy in violent magnetic explosions. The combination of rapid rotation and extreme magnetic fields creates a cosmic dynamo more powerful than anything else in the universe, launching jets of magnetized plasma at velocities approaching the speed of light. The magnetic fields generated are so strong they affect the vacuum of space itself, causing it to become birefringent, splitting light into separate polarizations. Space itself becomes a kind of cosmic crystal with directional properties. The energy released by a magnetorotational supernova can exceed that of a normal supernova by factors of hundreds, synthesizing exotic isotopes that cannot be created under any other conditions. In the vast halos surrounding every galaxy, an invisible substance outweighs all the stars by a factor of 5 to 1. This dark matter feels gravity, but interacts with nothing else we understand, creating a shadow universe. But if dark matter particles ever encounter their antimatter twins, they could unleash explosions that make supernovae look like fireflies. Dark matter particles, if they are their own antiparticles, would annihilate completely when they collide, converting their entire mass into pure energy. A single kilogram of dark matter undergoing annihilation would release the same energy as 21 million tons of explosives. In the dense cores of galaxy clusters, where dark matter concentrations reach their peak, these annihilation events could create cascades of high-energy particles and gamma rays, exceeding the combined output of all the stars in the cluster. The annihilation process could create pairs of photons with energies millions of times greater than visible light. These gamma rays would carry the signature of dark matter destruction, providing a direct window into the properties of this mysterious substance. In the extreme environment near black holes, where dark matter densities can reach extraordinary levels, annihilation rates could become so high that they contribute significantly to the total energy output. The search for dark matter annihilation signals has led astronomers to examine the most extreme environments in the universe. The absence of clear signals so far suggests that either dark matter does not self-annihilate or the process occurs much more rarely than initially predicted. Somewhere in the depths of space, protons are being accelerated to energies that dwarf anything we can achieve on Earth. These cosmic ray particles race through the galaxy at 99.9999% the speed of light, carrying individual energies equivalent to a baseball thrown at 60 miles per hour, compressed into a single atomic nucleus. The most energetic cosmic rays detected on Earth carry energies exceeding 10 to the 20th electron volts, more than 10 million times the energy achievable in the Large Hadron Collider. The cosmic accelerators responsible for these extreme particles remain one of astrophysics' greatest mysteries. Active galactic nuclei, powered by supermassive black holes, represent the most likely candidates. The magnetic fields near these objects can store enormous amounts of energy, launching jets that create natural particle accelerators millions of light years long. The most extreme cosmic ray events might involve entirely different acceleration mechanisms. Some theories suggest that the decay of exotic particles left over from the Big Bang could produce cosmic rays with energies exceeding anything possible through conventional acceleration. In the apparently empty space between atoms, between planets, between stars, the quantum vacuum seethes with invisible activity. Virtual particles pop into existence and annihilate each other, in time so brief they exist below the threshold of direct observation. Yet these quantum fluctuations contain enough energy to power the entire observable universe. The quantum vacuum is not truly empty, but filled with zero-point energy that exists even at absolute zero temperature. Calculations suggest that the energy density of quantum vacuum fluctuations should be 10 to the 120th times larger than the observed energy density of the universe. This enormous discrepancy, known as the cosmological constant problem, represents one of the greatest failures of theoretical physics. Yet quantum vacuum fluctuations do produce measurable effects. The Casimir effect demonstrates that two metal plates placed very close together will be pushed toward each other by the pressure of virtual particles. Virtual particles near the event horizons of black holes can become real through Hawking radiation. In the early universe, quantum vacuum fluctuations were stretched to cosmic scales during inflation, becoming the seeds of all large-scale structure. Some theories suggest that our entire universe originated from a quantum vacuum fluctuation, a brief deviation from nothingness that somehow became permanent. Beyond the edge of our observable universe, beyond the most distant galaxies we can ever hope to see, lies something that dwarfs all the cosmic forces we have encountered. If the multiverse exists, our entire universe, with all its supernovae, black holes, and gamma-ray bursts, becomes nothing more than a single bubble in an infinite ocean of realities. In the eternal inflation scenario, our Big Bang was not a unique event, but one of countless explosions occurring continuously throughout higher dimensional space. New universes are constantly being born as quantum fluctuations trigger inflation in regions of false vacuum. Each universe within this multiverse could have completely different fundamental constants. In some, gravity might be stronger or weaker. In others, the electromagnetic force might have different strength, making atoms impossible. The total energy contained within an infinite multiverse would literally be infinite. Some regions of the multiverse might contain universes that expand forever, while others collapse back on themselves in big crunches. In certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, the multiverse consists of all possible outcomes of quantum measurements existing simultaneously in parallel realities. Every time a quantum event occurs with multiple possible results, the universe splits into separate branches. The anthropic principle suggests that we observe our universe's particular combination of physical constants, because only this combination allows observers like us to exist. In a multiverse containing all possible combinations, conscious beings would necessarily find themselves in universes capable of supporting consciousness. We have journeyed from the quantum realm to the infinite multiverse, witnessing forces that stretch the very limits of what reality can contain. The most remarkable truth we have discovered is that the universe does not simply contain power. It is power. Every atom in your body exists because forces beyond imagination hold it together. Every star that lights the cosmic darkness burns because nuclear forces convert matter into pure energy. Every galaxy spins through space because gravity and dark energy wage their eternal war. But perhaps the most profound realization is that we, as conscious observers, are not separate from these cosmic forces. We are their direct products. The calcium in our bones was forged in stellar explosions. The iron in our blood was scattered by dying stars. The gold in our jewelry was created when neutron stars collided. We are literally made of stardust, assembled by forces so powerful they can create and destroy entire worlds. Yet here we stand, conscious beings capable of contemplating our own cosmic origins. Proof that the universe's greatest power may not be its ability to destroy, but its capacity to create complexity and ultimately, awareness itself. The universe has been working for 13.8 billion years to create the conditions necessary for you to exist. Every force we have explored played a role in bringing about this moment. What is the most powerful thing in the universe? Perhaps it is not any single force, but the universe's inexhaustible creativity. Its ability to transform simple hydrogen into stars, stars into heavy elements, elements into planets, and planets into the stage where life and consciousness can emerge to contemplate the very forces that brought them into being. The universe's most powerful force may ultimately be its capacity to know itself through beings like us. In understanding cosmic power, we become the universe awakening to its own magnificent potential.